Okay, so today's cardinal lesson, Tom and I are going to be talking about long-term care claims. And you say, well, long-term care claims, I don't even own a policy yet. Well, I've been offering long-term care insurance since it first came out in the late 1970s, early 1980s, and kind of been in the industry ever since. And I don't just think this is news to a lot of you is that sometimes insurance companies can be a little hard to shake money out of. I mean, it's just, and it seems particularly with this product, and there's been a lot of press out there just talking about long-term care insurance is a bad deal. And this is why it's a bad deal. Number one is they're really hard to get them to pay the claims. And people have a story about one of their parents, or they have their aunt, or they've read in the press about a story where somebody just didn't get paid. And it's a horrible situation if you're the insurance company or one of the executives of the insurance company, where you have this very elderly person laying in a nursing home or in a hospital bed at home who obviously qualifies for the claim, and then you got to be accountable to the press for how awful your insurance claims department has been to these people. Okay, so what I'm here to tell you is all that stuff that you've read or you have inclinations, it's all true, and it's probably even a little worse than you think it is. Okay, and you say, so why are you, Hans Scheil, an insurance salesperson and a long-term care insurance salesperson, telling this? Well, I'm just confronting the brutal facts. And it can be much better than it is, and we want to talk about some examples where we've helped people get out of a bad long-term care claim situation and actually get their claim paid. We're going to talk through that a little bit today. And Tom has an example of one of those that's right now in the present, where we wrote somebody who is already pretty much, you'd think they wouldn't qualify for insurance, but they could answer all the questions no, and we went and they issued the policy and they had a claim pretty quick. So why don't you tell us that story a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So we had a client that bought a policy from a company, and it's a short-term care policy if you go back and watch some of our other videos. And he was able to answer no to all the questions, which was great. I didn't know if he would be able to or not. And so he got this policy. There was a pretty good chance he was going to need care at some point in the future. That point came sooner than they were expecting, and it came time to file a claim. And so the wife called up and talked to me and was really asking, what do we need to do? What is the process? So I explained, we need a letter from the doctor. We need a home health care agency to come out and kind of assess the situation and really start hiring them to come in and start receiving the care. And so we went through all this. She got the things. We submitted it to the insurance company. Things weren't quite right, and they needed more information. They came back. So it was back and forth for several weeks, and she was starting to get pretty frustrated because in the meantime, the care company is coming in, providing the care. They're having these bills build up, and the insurance company hasn't paid the money. And so she was starting to get a little exasperated about what's going on here. Are they going to pay? Do we even need this policy? Should we just cancel? And I said, let's calm down. Let's take a breath. I'm going to help you guys through this. They just need these couple pieces of information. Once we get them here, I think the claim will be paid. I couldn't promise anything. I mean, the insurance company is in charge of that. But she went through, she hung with it. We got the information, got it submitted to the insurance company. She got a check last week for $12,000 to back pay what the claims would have been, and then she'll continue getting those claims moving forward. So one of the things I want to point out is when you go and try to do this on your own, and you're not familiar with the process, you're not familiar with what needs to be done, you're trying to do this at the same time of you're trying to take care of your loved one, because it's generally a spouse, a child that's coming in and doing this, and you're frustrated with the insurance company because you're also having to deal with the care of your loved ones. And so it's very frustrating in the moment. It's very hard. It's understandably confusing, and that's really where we can step in and kind of help provide the expertise to really help these claims get provided for and get paid for. And this is really helpful for them. She was very thankful. But in a lot of situations, a family member might get in that situation, get frustrated, throw up their hands, and just stop trying. And then really who wins out in that situation is the insurance companies. You have this policy. If you do the right things, it will get paid, but they throw up their hands before they get to the finish line and then really just miss out on a benefit.
Well, and so put in context for our audience, what Tom and I find a lot is we have clients coming in. We think they're interested in preparing a financial plan and dealing with long-term care. And the financial plan that we put together calls for them to address this issue. I just don't like people with money and resources to go into their old age without any long-term care insurance. And so we got a whole bunch of options. And we've had several situations just lately where we get shut down. I mean, people just say, I had this with my mother, and I said, I'm never buying one of these policies. And I'm not sure that this lady is ever going to buy one of these policies. So this video isn't necessarily for her because she was so burned and so mad at these people. And, you know, I know how she feels because I had trouble getting my own mother's claim paid. But what I didn't do was go cancel my own long-term care insurance and say I'm never going to carry it forever. And ultimately, I did get my mother's claim paid. And I think that this lady that was telling Tom and I this in the last week or two, my guess is I didn't dig further. Her mother's claim ultimately got paid, as they do in a lot of situations, but it was really a miserable process. So I wanted to put this into context where I think you're just cheating your family if you are looking for this, you've read about it in the press, or you've had a personal experience where collecting from one of these long-term care policies was so hard and so difficult and so painful that you're just avoiding the subject altogether. I think who loses in that is your family. Because if you later on need care, even if you got the money to pay for it, it's really convenient for the family members to just have this insurance in place that's going to pay for it for a while. So, and just to put things in context, you know, I've been selling long-term care insurance, like I said, for, you know, like 40 years. And so you can know that I've been involved in a lot of claims, and the people I sold, you know, I'm the agent. And so people have had a relationship with me all along, and I haven't really experienced a lot of these problems because people would come to me first and then I'd help them. Or if they didn't come to me first, they'd come to me real quick when they had the first problem and I fixed it and they got their money. Now, with my own mother was in not a nursing home, but an assisted living, and she was really in the residential living section with progressive Alzheimer's, okay? But she still didn't need to be watched 24/7. It was just fine that she could be in the residential place. They had a home health care desk just down the hall, and so they needed to come in and do some things for her every day. And she had this long-term care insurance policy that I had sold her, that I had actually paid for the first year or two because my sister was so opposed to even having it, that I paid the premium myself, and my mom later took it over. And this is many years later. My mom is in this facility, and we're not trying to get the rent paid for. My mom was paying for that. It was a really nice place. But we're trying to access the home health care benefits to have the people come and do things with her throughout the day. And we're trying to collect the benefits out of the policy. And we just got flat turned down. I mean, it's just by the company that I was the senior executive for, okay? And boy, that didn't sit very well with me. And I worked through the problem, and let's just say that like a month later, my mom's claim got paid and everybody lived happily ever after. But I know where people are coming from. So, you know, and I was very emotional about it. I mean, it's just if I got to fly to their home office and coming in there, I'm going to go collect the money. I mean, this is my mom you're talking about here. And, you know, I brought in here a New York Times that I've saved about this company was notorious. March 26, 2007. The title of the article is Aging, Frail, and fighting insurers to pay up. And you got this daughter and her mother, and it was just an awful situation where this lady's claim should have started a year before. She ultimately got paid, but there were some more examples in here, and this all came out right when I was leaving this particular insurance company that'll go unnamed. So let's talk about how you get a claim paid and how you access benefits on one of these policies, okay? So what I took is I copied and pasted into a document the exact language out of the policy that is required for you to get a claim paid, or for your claim to be approved, or the access to care. And I didn't add any words, but I did eliminate some words because we would have had about 6 boards up here with all the mumbo jumbo that was in there. But so, and I have as a title, home health care claims, because these days that's where most claims start, is most policies pay for both home health care and assisted living or nursing home or some type of facility. But a lot of people, they don't go right into the facility anymore. Some of them never go there. The claims start at home. So, but this would be the same for assisted living. So what I want to show you is there's one set of criteria on the top, and you'll notice the or in the middle. And then there's another set of criteria below the or, and the or means or. So you either need to meet this or you need to meet this, okay? So, and I think one of the places people get in trouble is they got a little of this and a little of this. So just about everybody that has trouble with the activities of daily living, that's 80, 90 years old, they got a little dementia going on. And just about everybody that has dementia that's in their 80s and 90s has got a little issues going on with the ADLs, with the activities of daily living. So when you're filing a claim on this stuff, it's one or the other. Because if you start mucking it up with both, you're liable to say, well, they don't meet either one of them. So, okay. So what you need to be able to show the insurance company is, one, that you're chronically ill, and this needs to get certified by a licensed healthcare practitioner, okay? And Tom, jump in here when you got something to add. So and the certified by a licensed healthcare practitioner, what I want to be clear, that is not the doctor. It could be the doctor, because a doctor is a licensed healthcare practitioner, but that could be a nurse, that could be the social worker, that could be the care manager, who's probably a nurse. It could be the care assessor, who's probably a social worker. Any of those people can fill out the form.
I will say there are some companies that do want your doctor to sign off on this, that's their prerogative. When you have an insurance company asking for a doctor's note, a doctor is not really involved in any of these activities of daily living. He's not there helping you bathe. He's not there helping you get dressed. And he can speak to the condition that's leading to those conditions, or you're needing help there, but he can't really speak to your needing there. So he's going to rely on you to relay back to him what you do need help with. And most doctors are willing to kind of help you through this. And so we've run into situations in the past where patients clearly, or clients clearly, need help with these things. I mean, they're in our office and we're helping them get in and out of the chair into the wheelchair. I mean, they really need help doing that. But when they get to the doctor, they're convincing the doctor, I don't really need help with this. I can kind of do this, because they're prideful. I mean, it's hard to admit that you need help with the things that you could have done your whole life without help for. So there's a lot of emotion there. But when you're going through this process, that is not the time to be prideful. I mean, you don't want to lie, but you want to really be honest with the doctor of, I do need help with this. And if you're having trouble and you're uncomfortable moving from one spot to another, tell him that. And he's likely going to write that on there. The other point,
you almost need to tell them what to write.
Yeah.
I mean, when people come to me, and that happens often, we have one of our agents who's going to see his grandma in about a month, and I dealt with his uncle and his aunt on Zoom, and I helped him get grandma's claim all straightened out. And the problem we had is the doctor had already mucked it up. I mean, he had just put a bunch of stuff on the form, because the form said to be filled out by the doctor. But their policy, without even reading it, it said licensed healthcare practitioner. So then the form, they got it from the doctor, and the doctor just went into all kinds of stuff. And they hadn't turned the claim down, but they just were asking for more and asking for more. So I just started over with them. And what I want to be clear is we can go to the people that are actually providing the care, like the home health care agency or the assisted living, and the social worker right in there. And I can sit down with them and say, you and I are going to sit down. Here's the form. Or I could talk to her or him on the phone and just like, okay, this is what we need it to say. And we don't want to start fabricating stuff, but we also don't want to add a bunch of unnecessary stuff or have a lack of clarity of whether we really need substantial help. So, it's really this word substantial assistance. That used to say hands-on assistance in the 80s and 90s, but they turned it to substantial assistance. That means like I don't need to, it's not good enough if I can just watch you and supervise you getting in and out of the chair. I got to come over there and help you, okay? And so the 6 ADLs, or activities of daily living, are bathing, continence, dressing, eating, toileting, and transferring. And I'm going to tell you right now, the 2 easiest to qualify for, and these are what I used for my mother: bathing and dressing. Okay, and we couldn't put her under even though she had developing Alzheimer's, she didn't have like the diagnosis where she needed supervision. If she did, she couldn't be living where she was. So I left all this stuff out, and I looked at all those things, and I said, which does she need substantial assistance? And it's the easiest to show. And it was my mom could not take a bath by herself, starting with the fact that she didn't want to do it. That comes with Alzheimer's people. And then she'd run the water too hot, too cold. She might slip, she might fall. She'd know where the towel was. It was real clear she needed substantial assistance. So we just had them come in and do it for her before we even got the insurance. And then with dressing, same thing, buttoning buttons. She needed to match her clothes. She would forget to put on undergarments. She just, it was just, she needed substantial assistance. And so I've used this with several claims since, is let's not worry about those other 4. Let's just get the licensed healthcare practitioner to write a plan of care, set up the care, and we're going to set it up around bathing and dressing if they in fact do need those 2 things done with substantial assistance. Now, maybe if they can do one of those, then we'd go to another one. Those are the 2.
I will also say that a lot of times we'll see someone will have gone to maybe the care coordinator, someone providing the care, and they will write pages of things that need help with and use fluffy language, really get a lot of, colorful details in there, which are not helpful for the claims process. It needs to be specific. It can be short, but really specific that we need help. You could do as simple as she needs substantial, or he or she needs substantial help bathing, she needs substantial help dressing. Maybe even that would work. You might want to put a little more than that, but it does not need to be a long paragraph format of just really walking through day to day what they need. It just needs to hit the 2 things that the insurance company is looking for: is do they qualify under those? And like John said, those 2 are the easiest to prove needing help for.
Well, yeah. And then you have the people that have dementia and they need to be supervised, but they've been diagnosed as that, and you can't leave them alone. That was my mom for the last 3 or 4 years of her life. Somebody had to be with her all the time. She could be in her room, but there was somebody right outside her room and the door was locked. So that, on the outside, not a room door. So she could come out of her room, wander around, and then somebody would be right up and say, "What are you doing, Mary?" And, and whatever, they'd redirect her or whatever. But she couldn't get out of the place without somebody opening the door, okay? And so there was no need. Well, by that point, her policy was all paying, and we had her on veterans assistance and all that kind of stuff. But what I want to be clear on is when somebody is in the situation my mom is, and they have dementia, they've been diagnosed, then we forget all this stuff at the top, and we just put the diagnosis, and we have the licensed healthcare practitioner along with the doctor. You can have two forms filled out, say that Mary needs to be supervised, and this is the plan of care your policy needs to pay. I mean, that's just, you don't have to add that last little line. So if any of you right now are in the middle of one of these messes, by all means call me or get in touch, because I really, yeah, you just say that I enjoy getting a hold of these insurance companies and turning them kind of over on their head. I mean, I do, and I'm good at it. And a lot of it just goes back to, I used to be one of those guys, or at least sit next to them. I was the sales guy, and it is real irritating because this is one place in insurance that's very subjective. I mean, with health insurance, if you think about it, you're in the hospital, you go to the doctor, he or she does something to you or does surgery. I mean, they owe the claim. I mean, it's just, and, you know, in life insurance, somebody is either alive or they're not, you know, I mean, it's just, and they're going to owe the claim. But this is subjective because this has to do with your functional capacity or functional incapacity and your ability to make it through the day without another human giving you assistance and the degree of that. So it's very subjective. And I want to get back to the point of this is I'd very much like, for the benefit of your family, to not, you know, that perhaps you could put your trust in me, that we'll be a resource for you to get these claims paid. You know, I may not be personally because I may be too old or gone by then, but, you know, there's a pretty good chance we got some other people around here Tom's age that he's still going to be of sound mind when you're using this thing. So if there's any of you that are in this situation right now, you know, give me a call or write into me. Now, I want to make another point, is there aren't too many indemnity policies left, but we still do have those from some companies. And the difference between indemnity and reimbursement, it's like this. It's like my mom had a reimbursement policy. So we had to get a bill from the home health care agency. We had to pay them, and then we submitted that to the insurance company and they reimbursed us. And then after a while, then we got them to send the bill directly into the insurance company, and then they reimbursed the home health care agency. That's how reimbursement works. You get reimbursed for the expenses you have. With indemnity, it's different. You have a stated benefit that you've purchased. All you have to meet is either that or that. And once you're certified, they just send you a check. You go get your care anywhere you want it. And we've sold a number of these indemnity policies lately to people, and it just takes, you'd be wise to hire professional licensed home health care givers as well as go to a licensed facility. I mean, people end up using licensed facilities anyhow, but they might mix in some family members that they want to pay, and they want to pay in cash, or they might have a neighbor or a sister or some combination of that and the professional people. With indemnity, you got all those options. So I'm Hans Scheil. I'm a CFP, and
I'm Tom Griffith, and I'm also a CFP.
thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.